Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Welsh Republic podcast, episode 160 today. And I am here with my guest, Maria Butina. She is an international committee's member for Russian State Duma. How are you doing today, Maria?
Oh, much better now with you.
Thank you very much for that. Maria, so what have you been up to today? Anything much?
Well, despite of Sunday, actually, yes. Well, Sunday is the day for God, but visiting the church in the morning, I have to do a lot of work today because we are overloaded with the people who want to move to Russia, believe it or not. And I got back on X and I see a lot of DMs of people who are interested. So I have to work all weekend straight. So it's kind of busy, but I'm happy to have a little break to talk to you, Welsh.
Yeah. Thank you. How is the weather there in Russia at the moment? Is the weather there good? Is it because it's like entering into its winter stage?
Well, not yet. If you measure in Celsius, it's about 10 Celsius. It's quite a. I see that the weather is different this year because it's quite warm, very unusual. So we have like plus one more months of summer, and Moscow is not. The climate is somewhere close to or a little colder than Washington D.C. I used to live in Washington D.C., so the summer is nicer because it's more dry. And you don't have this humidity, that all your clothes stick to your body. For right now, it's turning into winter, but I love winter because I do love snow. And when Christmas comes, I would love to have, this snowman to be made. And
Oh,
call me
that would.
nostalgic, but that's what it is.
Yeah. I can imagine in Moscow Christmas is so beautiful. I can imagine,
Unbelievable.
oh,
Unbelievable.
here in New Zealand, where I'm in, the Christmas here is more of a summer Christmas. It's actually nice because you get the sun out and all that stuff. It's very, very nice, but I can imagine in Russia it's absolutely fantastic, especially in Siberia. I mean, what would you say, Maria, is your favorite like Christmas decoration in Russia? Like what place makes the best Christmas decorations?
Christmas tree. I like for the whole world. And also, I had just some amazing trip one day to Petersburg, Pennsylvania, and they have this spectacular exhibition of different Santa Clauses because I
Wow.
discovered that in every single country they have a different Santa Claus. Like in Russia, we call it Father Frost. It's just our name, Ded Moroz, Father Frost. And in Africa, they have like differently dressed. And I found it quite interesting. So, but I'm still on these traditional values here. So, Christmas tree for me is the most darling thing, and I also like this very beautiful, colorful decorations of the houses that people use. The lights, when the dark comes, the lights go on. And it's beautiful, and people so creative choosing the decorations. That's my favorite part of the year is Christmas. And of course, just I guess maybe like you, I love watching Home Alone. Yes, I'm still there. I still do that. Yes, all three
That
parts, but the first one is better. The first one is the best.
that is a good movie. That is a very, very good movie, Home
Actually, it's
Alone.
very philosophical because it's about little kid who defends his house. Have you thought about this? It's very, very
Yes, I can see that.
ideological. Very good.
Yeah. Here in New Zealand, we call Santa Father Christmas. That's
Good for
really
you.
that's pretty cool. So, speaking of that, Maria, tell us about yourself. So, I thought we should start before we get into the whole thing about how which when you were arrested, which was terrible, which happened back in 2018. Before we get go into that, I was wanting to ask you. So, you're a Russian State Duma international, like what is it called? You're a Russian State Duma
Okay.
international.
Let me explain you in the simple words. So we have three branches of power, like you
No,
guys do. You have jurisdictional, which is court. You have ministries, and everybody who are actually executive branch, and we have legislative. So I am in the legislative. So I am a lawmaker. We also have two chambers. We have the upper chamber, which is the Senate, and we have the lower chamber, which is the State Duma. So I'm at the State Duma. In the Duma, we have different committees. They are responsible for different laws in different fields. And my area of responsibility is in the Foreign Relations Committee. And this, very nice place you see is this separate building devoted to the International Affairs Committee. So we invite here ambassadors of different countries, and we have here events for who are joined with different nations from all over the world. We have two different areas, meaning two different international affairs committees. One is responsible to the countries that are in the Russian, on the border of Russia. They are border countries. That's one thing, because these are big issues. And I'm responsible for all other countries that we call the faraway countries, which means that it's not like Belarus or the stands. I'm responsible for countries like New Zealand, America, China, Iran, and so on, countries that are further from Russia. I know it's a bit complicated, but also every deputy has an area inside of Russia, internal, that we are responsible for. I'm a deputy from Kirovskaya Oblast. This is about 1.5 hour flight from Moscow. It's a very nice place, a lot of forests. So if you ever decide to go to Russia, you'll be very much welcome to see all of that.
I would absolutely love to go to Russia one day. I would love to see a lot of the Muslim cities in Russia. I'd love to see St. Petersburg. I'd love to see Moscow. There's a lot of great things I'd like to see. How is that work getting along, Maria, at the moment that you're doing? Are you like with the, like you said you are? Is there anything interesting that you've been dealing with lately?
Yeah, the biggest topic that I have today on my desk is this thing of moving to Russia, because about 2 months ago, President Putin signed a decree which sets up new regulation for people who want to move to Russia because they share Russian traditional values, they value family, they want to live in a free community, and they want to be, just to be Christians. That's the main issue for people to come here. It doesn't matter what denomination, they could be Orthodox or Catholic or Protestant. We don't care that much. They also can be Muslims. This is fine. If they share family values, they can come. So this decree is called now the Decree on Spiritual Asylum. So people get here, they come with families. And before, it was quite complicated because it was mixed with a working visa procedure, which it's quite hard. So we have quotas, so there are not so many people from the Middle Asia and stuff like that. But now you don't need to learn Russian language to come to Russia. You don't need to learn Russian language now to actually live in Russia permanently. Before, you had to pass certain tests. You don't need to do it anymore. There are no quotas for the Westerners who come to Russia and bring their families. So we get a lot of applications of people who want to move, and just help them to set up. We have already our first 53 families who are already here. The majority of the people come from Germany, Italy, France, the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. I would say these are the priorities, and also, of course, from the Baltic states. People just, these are foreigners who they want to stay citizens of the countries they're from. Some of them want Russian citizenship. Some of them just, want to live here and just wait in certain exile when their land gets, normal, so they want to come back, and we welcome that. That's okay. Works with me. So this is the number one load that we have today. There are big events going on that my committee is involved in. It's like the BRICS summit, of course, because the whole country is shaking today because of the this meeting where so many countries come together, so many very important decisions are made, and of course, this is everybody is somehow involved in the agenda of the BRICS. A very good friend of mine, she runs a special school, like BRICS school, where they have a distribution of different little branches in BRICS countries. So students can go all over the world and study in BRICS countries. So you see that there are like civil initiatives like that, just private ones, and state efforts. That's why it's a big load. Very close to certain countries like Serbia, which is historically so. And very soon I fly to Belarus because we have a big international forum there. People from all over the world, they come in, and I'm going to be there. There will be very important meetings, I think.
In your program, which you said you're responsible for the move to Russia from the West program, what stories have you heard from a lot of the people who you've helped move from Russia from other countries? What stories have they told you about? Like, just what are the stories that like really touched your heart? That really, where like someone's been persecuted, like politically.
It's not about political persecution. For the political persecution, we have stuff like political asylum. These are more, this is a different type of visa and different type of people. But I'll tell you a couple of very touching stories. Like the recent one, the first woman, she's from Germany, who got this spiritual visa. She had to live 4 years between Georgia and India, believe it or not, because she has 2 little daughters. And one of the daughters, she is asthmatic. So a little kid couldn't wear the mask during the COVID pandemic. So she took her her little daughter out from school, and the government came to her and tried to take her kid. So she was not, as you may guess, she was not happy with that. And she was trying to explain to the German government that the kid cannot just wear the mask because she's going to die. She cannot breathe. But nobody listened to her. So here's what she did. She basically stole her own kids, because in Germany, kids don't belong to the parents. They belong to the government. And so she escaped Germany on the fake permission to go to, you have to take permission to take your kids from Germany. That's crazy though. To Switzerland. So she took her kids we're supposed to take them to Switzerland, and she instead went to Georgia, and she applied for this visa, and now she's in Russia, all happy, and she lives now in Nizhny Novgorod with 2 little kids. This is a touchy story. So she just didn't want her kids to be exposed to the mandatory vaccination. She didn't want her kids to be exposed to the LGBT issue, and she wanted her asthmatic kid to be alive. By the way, when she came to Russia, miraculously, but because of the weather and the dry air, her kid got better. So she's now happy and safe. So that's one of the cases. Another case that I have is amazing. So this guy, he's an Italian, and he is a professional cheesemaker from a family that makes cheese through centuries. So he came to Russia, and he discovered that the milk is just better than it is now in Italy. Again, now. It used to be better, but now, because of, I guess, the policies or whatever, I don't know what's the reason. So he came to Russia and said, well, since I'm a maestro, this is, how the master of cheese making, I want to stay here because this is the best milk for my Parmigiano cheese. And now he's the best Parmigiano cheese producer in the whole Russia. He won the best cheese awards twice. And his name is Giuliano Raversi. I see many stories of the people who come here because they are devoted Christians. I'm actually having dinner tonight with Joseph Schutzman. It's a big family of traditional Catholics. He has 7 kids and a wonderful wife. And see, I mean, we do care about people. So I actually dine with these people together. We meet all the time. We have this meetings for all the people who moved in or who just travel. In December, I'm hosting Christian Christmas party for all denominations of Christians, because we do care of people. I mean, we meet them personally. We deal with each case personally. And like Joseph, he has an amazing story too. He was against these LGBT values, and he wanted to move to Russia, and he's here for 8 years, I think. He's doing quite good. So these are the three typical stories. I see a lot of people who work in IT and they want just their own land, like this American family from I don't remember, New Jersey, if I remember this well. Remember it well. And their last name is Plato. So I have a lot. I mean, I met this morning a guy from Texas who moved here because he has a Russian wife, and there's so many different stories, and especially this miraculous city I published on my Twitter called Dobrograd. It's about 2.5 hours travel from Moscow. It looks like a paradise, and many foreigners, they want to live there. It's maybe a surprise for me, but surprisingly, because people, they somehow, get through this propaganda iron curtain that the West made for Russia. But you guys still smart. Like Welsh, you found me and you invited me on your podcast. Meaning, so there are still people like Saber who are not this, drunkies somewhere, and they see the truth. And I'm so happy and grateful to you that we can talk. That's wonderful.
Maria, how I look at it, in my opinion, is that I'm not going to sound too conspiratorial. I don't want to sound, but I just want to keep this professional. The West right now is controlled by corporations. Like the governments of the West, they're controlled by, these corrupt oligarchs who don't care about its people. But Russia, you guys have Putin, who is the best leader in the world. He's absolutely fantastic. You guys are a true sovereign nation. He puts his people first. And, I think it's fantastic what you're doing, making a program, where you're helping these people who want to move to Russia for a better life. And I think it's fantastic what you're doing, because Maria, from the research I've done, a lot of Westerners have told me that, Russia doesn't have freedom of speech, but that's absolutely nonsense. You guys do have freedom of speech. I mean, it's crazy right now, Maria, especially when you look like, sorry, I got that wrong. When you look at like the takedown of Sputnik, RT News in America, all of that, the sanctions, Russian journalists getting arrested, especially whether it's Scott Ritter and all that. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I think it's great. You're making a program, you're giving hope to people. It's just the Western freedom is a complete joke. It's a complete joke.
So, talking about corporations, I don't think this is a conspiracy crazy theory. No. Look, one very smart guy, his name is John Plato. That's one of the moving ins cases. Yep. He moved in from the States with a big family of 9. He one time told me a very smart thing. He said, people conspire all the time. When we're kids and play in sand, do we conspire? Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We do like little circles and gossip about other people and so on. Why do you think people on the top level don't do so? They absolutely do. And the private military complex is one of the cases. Let's say I have been an advocate for the freedom of Julian Assange over the years. And look what they did with a poor guy. Like he had to plead guilty like I did. Not because he wanted to do so. They were trying to kill him in the prison. I cannot even imagine how hard his conditions were, even in comparison with mine. I mean, this is how they try to kill the freedom of speech. I'm so glad watching his interviews that he still stays strong, because it's a shame on the West. The guy, he had never worked to Russia. Come on, he was telling the truth. And I think what matters is what he discovered. He is one of the heroes of today, the whistleblower who was not afraid. He put out so much stuff on Russia as well, and they were just, putting this black tag on him, but because they call everybody a conspiracy, a conspirator, or person who works for Russian propaganda or stuff like that. But in fact, He is the hero of the freedom of speech. I know a couple of his supporters and actually people who were his allies and helped him, who now got an asylum in Russia. I know them personally. And guess what? Why did they come to Russia? Because it's free. And in any country in the world they would go, they would be just assassinated or thrown into prisons. So they found their freedom here. I know these people. And shame on the West for the Julian Assange case. Shame on them for the humiliation that they did with a distinguished gentleman, and he is a gentleman. And I was talking about the freedom of speech. Look, everybody says like, "Oh, Russia, well, you never talk openly." Look, Welsh, you know how we met? Just on Twitter. There was no efforts of Russian propaganda to say, "I don't pay you, don't pay me."
And not to mention, Maria, sorry for interrupting. Not to mention, especially in the BRICS summit, they had Western journalists there asking questions to Putin. If Russia was a fascist country, those Western journalists would have never been able to go there and ask questions in the BRICS summit.
Listen, Welsh, I am on BBC Hard Talk all the time. I talk to CNN. All these reporters from the Wall Street Journal, these reporters from the Washington Post, the Washington Post on my personal invitation traveled to the city I was elected from, to Kirov. You can Google it. You can find the article online, and she was there. I gave her my private security person because she was so afraid that somebody's going to arrest her, and said, no, nobody's going to arrest you. But still, I said, well, you will be my guest, and you will have us, if you want, you will have a devoted person who will be next to you, so nothing happens to you. Then she starts complaining. That's, she doesn't want it, but it's okay. What I do talk to every single reporter who reaches me out. And I never, ever, I would ask you a topic, so I know if you ask numbers, so I'm prepared. But it's normal for any journalist in the world if he or she is professional. But I never ask you the specific questions. I never break up the line, and I'm very open. I do my acts on my own. So what else? How much freedom of speech there should be? Try to do it on the West. I mean, try to publish something that is against the mainstream and see what happens. They can turn down YouTube channel. They can just cancel you on X. I mean, hopefully not now anymore because of Elon Musk. I actually have a hope. They cancel Trump. I mean, they canceled the president. That's it. And who is the censor? I'm very curious. Who are, if not these corporations, then who makes the decision? All right. If that's not the government of the Western countries, if it's not the U.S. government, or if you see, well, when you see Biden, you have doubts he is okay. So who then makes the decision? Who earns money on the wars? Who backs up Israel right now, pushing the world to the Third World War?
The London bankers, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, Wall Street, the Israel lobby, AIPAC.
It has to be profitable to someone. Well, people don't profit from that. Do you profit from that? No. Do I profit from that? No. That means that somebody earns a lot trying not to make any peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. Somebody is resisting, so this whole thing keeps going. Somebody is doing that, so somebody earns a big checks on this stuff. And that's my opinion, and you can quote me on that because I see it every day, and I see how people are still smart. And when they come to Russia, they say, "Oh, Russia is not communism anymore." It's like, no, Russia is not a communism for at least 30 years already, at least. And we are in a quite free society. And to be elected in the State Duma, guess what you shall do? Run for the elections and actually spend time in the fields talking to people, which I did. And every single day of my election campaign was basically live streamed. So you can see how people vote in every single place where we vote. We have a webcam where you can actually check. And for those people who don't believe in e-voting, electronic voting, guys, we use blockchain. I studied blockchain I got my master's in crypto world in the cybersecurity area in Washington, D.C. at American University. I know what blockchain is. You cannot change the blockchain. And people are just putting all this propaganda on Russia. But those people who are smart, they just move to Russia, which is smart, or at least come and travel, come and see. Like, don't trust me, don't trust you, don't trust anyone. Just come and see with your own eyes and make your judgment. I think that's smart. When I wanted to see the United States, I went to the United States. That's okay, and I made my opinion. Like, you have your podcast, so you say what you think, and I respect you for doing that.
Maria, now going back to that, I want to talk to you about how, when you were arrested back in 2018 for allegedly being a Russian spy, and I also wanted to ask you, explain to me, like, what was, okay, so I'm going to ask you two questions here. First question is, so you were accused of being a spy. What was the major frauds about that case against you that people should know, the big examples? And two, explain to me your time in the prison and the horrible political, incarceration that you suffered in American prisons that was so bad, and facts that people should know about that. So go ahead.
Wow. Okay. Explaining 467 days in prison at once and in 15 minutes is going to be hard. I spent 4 months in solitary confinement, so I don't want even to share my feelings with you, because I don't want anybody to feel what I felt those days. But I'll try. So first of all, I have never been charged with espionage, ever, 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 ever. They never accused me of spying. So do not believe the media. And you just go ahead and find my case. It's online, US courts, Maria Butina versus the United States. And you will see that there is no single word about spying. So the question goes to the Western media. Then on the Western media everywhere, they called me, oh, she was the Red Sparrow. Well, no, I was not the Red Sparrow. I had never been charged for anything like that, or I would still be in prison, as you may have guessed. They give you for espionage at least 35 years. Why did I come back so early? Well, I served all my time from day to day until the first to the last. I was not exchanged. This is not the spy swamp. I came back because I served my time. So they would never let a spy go with a serving time of 1.5 years, 18 months. That's crazy. Okay. The first question asked, all right. I actually was charged for Twitter. Oh, yeah. So they said that I am violating this article of the US code is barely used. They used it before me only once in 50 years. It's an Article 951 US code plus 371 US code. The first one, 951, says that your crime is to act in the interest of a foreign government without notifying the US government. So it does not need to, you don't need to prove that there was any money involved. You don't need to prove that there is an action or maybe malicious activity. No, the articles say if you have a friend, if you have someone who works for the government and you and he pleads you to do something, says, oh, could you please do something? And you say yes and do this favor for him or for her, it means you're found guilty. So in my X messages on DM to the question of safety and security of your personal data in the West, they didn't have a court order to actually take my DMs. But anyway, they take my DMs, and here's what they found. I have a friend, now he's retired, but he used to work in the Russian central bank. Technically not the government, but okay, let it be. So he would go on vacations to the United States, and since he is on vacation, he couldn't use his private assistant, his staff, to book tickets. And he is kind of an old man, so he didn't know how to use all this electronic booking system. So I booked tickets for him. And here you go. I'm a foreign agent. And you would ask, like, no way, but you have been at, you may ask me, on these events, and you would go to all these, political events. That's what they told us at the university to do every single day. I was in the School of International Service. Every teacher would tell us, you go and socialize. And yes, my boyfriend was a Republican, so he would go on all these gatherings and would take me as a girlfriend. Well, it's all good. Where is the crime? I mean, my lawyers were asking the same question. Where is the crime? So, and why did I plead guilty after the tortures and their 4 months of solitary confinement? Well, you may have guessed, these conditions were not the best ones, where they didn't give me to sleep, when there were cockroaches everywhere. And when they would use this, I don't know what, it's like a sound every single 15 minutes that goes on. So you are sleep deprived. They don't give you your normal food. And so when I came back, well, yeah, I don't know if when you do this live, people can see how I look like. But if you do, so I was 10 kilos less than I am today. I looked like a skeleton of the Holocaust. So when I went out from there, I forgot what's the names of my parents. That was so bad. And
wow, that is not good. That is not good.
What? It's actually available for you to see. If you go online and you see that the only time when I got a chance to record a little video, they had a service for online meetings because they didn't have a room so you meet your relatives. So you can actually talk to them like via certain program like Skype or something. So I recorded a message to my friend, which he actually he filmed and he put it online, where I talk to the Russians. You can see how I look like. So, and then I know that when so many people met me at the airport, there were a lot of Western propaganda outlets who would say, oh, look, she's fat. They didn't give me any water for a day. So when I was flying across the ocean, I drank about 2 liters. So the way I look like there is not fat. It just means that all my body was adjusting and processing the water that I had not had for 24 hours. Is that fine? That's how you should. I mean, that's cheating. That's what you do with a person when you want to compromise someone. That's just cruel. And what did I do wrong? I came to the States. I paid for my education. I had a boyfriend. I was respectful of the United States. I do speak English, as you may see. I was an excellent student, meaning straight A. And I came with all peaceful attention and not attention, but attitude to the United States. And look what they did with me. So, in fact, they couldn't prove anything. So I pled guilty to conspiracy with myself. I don't have a co-conspirator. Have you seen such cases? Do they ever exist? No. How does that happen? And then they put all these stories online saying like, oh, she's the Red Sparrow. There is a great article written by James Bamford. He's the author of the Puzzle Palace, the guy who disclosed the actual NSA. He interviewed Snowden. He went against the mainstream, and he published an article, The Spy Who Wasn't, in the New Republic magazine. You can check it out. And where he placed all these questions. I was still in prison, so this guy is a hero. He went against the mainstream, and nobody wanted to publish it. Meaning the New Republic is a rare exception, because if you disagree with the general view, that's what happens with you. You go to prison, or they just silence you. So talking about the conditions that I had, the decision I made is to download my book in English for free. So I'm going to send you a link. And so everybody who is interested in the truth, you just guys go ahead and read it. We're going to have a movie soon. And it's going to be next February because we're editing it now. We just finished the filming. And everybody from your podcast, Welsh, that's just for you, who decides to come to the premiere, I can get them tickets to the premiere, and you guys go ahead and watch it. I mean, see the truth. Like, don't believe me, don't believe anyone, check yourself. That's my best advice after everything I have been through.
Maria, so I also wanted to, you also were saying on an interview about the amount of black people, in the prisons, because in America, that like, it's crazy how many like black people get treated, especially, like different races, in prisons, it's insane there in America, especially the different races of people, especially like immigrants and stuff like, it's absolutely messed up.
Do you know how many people they have, how many blacks live in the United States in terms of the percentage of the general population? Just 13%.
Yeah.
But how did that happen that I have been in 6 different prisons, the majority are blacks? How did that happen? All right, you may say, oh, maybe blacks, they commit more crime. No. There is something else going on here.
It's systematic racism.
So,
that's what it is.
Why is that? Well, I talked to many ladies. Actually, once I was out from solitary confinement and I spent time in the general pop, the inmates, I talked to the inmates a lot, and I asked them why they have generations of people, black people, who are in prisons, and they said because they basically they keep us in ghettos. These ghettos, they don't have schools. They don't have an actual chance to be successful in their lives. They give them pennies so they're able to survive, but they never let them get good schooling. You heard about the US school debt? If you go to a public school, good luck to you. You will never even get the basic skills. But the universities in Russia, universities are free. The public schools are free and they are awesome. The medical is free and it's awesome. And they, of course, you never see it online, and they put on all these, tags on Russia because they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to study that. They want you to believe that they are best of the best. But then if I had the chance to ask Biden one question and Harris one question, is what happened with your program of the elimination of the student loan debt? They have been promising to do that for so long time. So actually, the whole life of a Westerner is one big debt hole, because your car is in lease, your home is in mortgage, your student loan is, you have to work the whole life to get paid, and you will never do so. Whatever you buy on your credit card, and then they charge huge percent interest on that. I know, I lived in the United States, and in some prisons, like in Fairfax, let's be specific, Virginia, they charge you for being in prison $5 per day. Can you imagine that? They never give you
$5 per day to be in prison.
Because all prisons are private. The system works in a way so everybody must pay. Okay, if there are free, let's say, jails and prisons, there is such a thing as commissary. So you will never get an allergy pills. Never. You will never get Tylenol, because the doctors are always on vacation. They're short staffed. You will never get treated your teeth. They can take them out. Can you imagine that? So for little ladies who needed to buy an allergy pills, they cannot do that because they have no money on their accounts. Every single phone call you have to pay for. And how do you go into more specific? Because I actually had a petition to the United Nations asking that they have to treat women normally. This is not the country that treats women. We are not given underwear. How is that? How are you supposed to live in a jail if nobody gives you underwear? In some prisons, they don't give you pads. Like, and to buy a box of pads, you have to work a month. I was a unit worker, okay? And I can prove it. I have a paycheck. Do you know how much did they pay me per month for work from 5 a.m. until 1 a.m. in the morning? I got earned $7 per month. So the box of tampons cost $7.25. How am I supposed to make it in jail? So this is how the generations of the blacks, and nobody will tell you this truth, the generation of blacks are going to stay there, because once they go to prison, they lose their voting rights. They will never rent an apartment because nobody's going to take them. They lose their gun rights. They will always stay even in the more debt than anybody. There will be a single mom who will have a kid who will never go to school, and they will end on the streets selling drugs or doing prostitution. The same with the immigrants from Latin America countries. That's the whole mathematics, That's it. That's a cruel life. The 1/4, 25% of all prisoners in the world, the biggest prison population is in the United States. Why is that? Google Unicorn. Check out. This is basically the slavery camps that we have on the prisons in the US today. Unicorn is a corporation. It's a private corporation that makes you, being an inmate, to work for free. You can find them. They offer people as a free workforce. Check it out. They have a website, very funny. So you can see the smiley faces of all the inmates, and they don't tell you that during the COVID times, these people were placed to do targets for military, and they were dying on their workspace because they got infected with COVID. Nobody talks about it. Why is that? You can find little articles somewhere on the short note. This is what the West should be focused on. And this is why people move to Russia, because they see such things going on every single day, and they just cancel them. They don't give them the right to raise their voices. They just die right there in prisons without getting their proper medication. This is what happens today. I had a woman, she was with me in one of the cells in the place we call Shady Grady. This is the Oklahoma regional jail. It's a transitional point between Florida, FCI, Federal Detention Facility, and my original jail from Alexandria in Virginia. So I saw a woman, she was in a little cell with me. She was diabetic, and they didn't give her insulin shots. So she was basically dying. She was pregnant on the floor, on a cold floor in a cell with 20 other women. And once you put this online, you will see many people who write to you that they experience the same. And if somebody disagree, just Google Central Cell Block. It's under the police station in Washington, D.C. I was there, and see how it looks like. I mean, they will never show you, but read an American pastor experience who actually had been locked up there. And don't believe me. Ask. Go ahead and ask. How do they treat people there when they scream all night long in the cold cell with the cockroaches that are finger thick, and we all have no blankets? They don't give you water, and you're supposed to die there, because then when they transport you in the morning, they use these little things that when you tie the wires, the plastic thing, like with the bands or something. So they actually put your hands to your neighbor with this thing, which is forbidden according to the United Nations standard against the torture. They do not care. You are supposed to die there, and nobody is going to hear you, and nobody hears the blacks. They show them on TV, like everybody is, knee down and everything. It does not help to the kid in the ghetto who will never get education, gets poor, never got to school, and just ends up in the jail dead. That's what they don't say. They show the pretty picture and put a bow on top. That's how the US looks like.
Maria, obviously you've got, so we've got 5 minutes left. It would have been great if I could have kept talking to you for longer, but I've got to be respectful towards you, which is all good, which is fine. Maria, one last question I wanted to ask you before we go. What do you think is the future of, how do you think the future of Russia is looking with BRICS, China, and that going forward? And what things would you want Russia to improve on? And what is the last thing you would like to say too?
Well, I think Russia is going to do great because the whole world develops and changes like a spiral. So we are about to get into the golden era. So people who are smart, they see it. They know you can never press on Russians because we mobilize and we become even stronger. We have proven it through the history. We will win, definitely. And what I would like to wish is for people from the West, just citizens, to get smart and come to Russia, visit Russia, build ties, move to Russia. Because if we guys, I am serious here, don't create the civil diplomacy ties, they're going to blow up the whole world with a nuclear weapon. So the guarantee of the peace is people talking to each other. And now what they do, I don't like. They cut the ties. By the sanctions, they cut trade ties. By putting these travel sanctions and the fears of going to different countries, they cut just people going back and forth. And look, I just hope that we're going to be wise enough not to start a nuclear war. So I believe Russia is a Salvation Ark, or some people say it is like Noah's Ark or whatever. But if you're smart, check it out, save your family, and come to Russia. This is my final note.
Maria, before we go, where can people find you, and where can they find your book, and where are they going to be able to watch the film when it comes out?
I'll give you a link on the website. You can see the trailer of my movie, and you can also get your free ebook there, The Prison Diary, that movie is based on. So you just go ahead and download it. It's all simple, easy, and free. You don't need to pay for anything. You can easily find me on X. I'm happy to every single DM with I believe there are no silly questions. Meaning, if you wonder something about Russia, you just go ahead and ask me, and I'm going to respond. If I don't know, I cannot do it right now, I'll respond very soon. Because guess what? I do care of you. Because I do believe that we should help to each other. And I learned my lesson in helping to the people and being a devoted Christian in prison. And yes, for me, it's a spiritual journey for you to be actually with me. Be here, be safe, and your family will be happy. Because I saw evil, but whatever God does, He turns every evil into the good. And here I am, almost in a palace in the Duma, and God made everything in a way so I got publicity to be able to invite you to come to Russia today. I think that's the God's purpose.
Well, thank you very much, Maria. It was a pleasure to have you. It was an honor to talk to you. Ladies and gentlemen, please go follow Maria on Twitter. Go check out the program she runs, Move to Russia. Go follow her on Twitter. Go give her all the respect she deserves. Go check out her book. It's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, go give her a like and subscribe. She deserves. Also, please remember, guys, and also, Maria, thank you for coming on my show. It was an absolute pleasure to have you. It was awesome to talk to you. And also, I just want to say to everybody, thank you for joining the Watch Podcast episode 160 today. I hope everybody has a nice day. God bless you all. Stay safe. Remember to like and subscribe like and subscribe this video, and remember to share it around to your families. God bless you all. Take care.
Thank you.